Welcome, and thank you for joining us on the Digits Dynasty podcast, where we are counting down the greatest athletes to wear each and every uniform number, regardless of the sport, regardless of the league. Today, we are looking at the number 41. I'm here with Curtis, and I can't think of a little clever thing ahead of time, so I feel like we'll be talking about the tall baller from the G. So I'm going to say 41 in German here. Einer Volzig.
Einer Volzig. Well, I am
Guten Tag.
Einer Volzig. I am 41 years old.
Whoa, you're not eligible for the wall. I hate to, unless you've played professional sports somewhere that I don't know about.
Well, I only wear 41 temporarily, so what I have done at the age of 41 could definitely compete with many of these athletes.
Hall of Fame worthy.
Hall of Fame 41-year-old. I have more receiving yards as a 41-year-old than Tom Brady.
Do you have more Super Bowls than him?
I did at one point. We had the same up until a point. 41 feels good. I feel like I'm, really in my prime right now.
Hey, you're like zen with it now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about 41. It took a dip. It's, in your 20s, your late 20s, you start to hit your stride, find out who you are. You start to take a little dip. You turn 30 and it's like, ooh, I'm 30. But then you get to your late 30s and things start to kind of go back up. You start to feel a little bit more comfortable. And now I'm really hitting my stride in life. Really feel good. I don't feel a midlife crisis coming on at all. Feeling good, feeling strong.
41. At the end of the last episode, you mentioned 41 is a song by Dave Matthews Band. You said it's one of your...
I do. I love that song, 41. I'm a big Dave Matthews Band fan. I've listened to him for a long time. Been to quite a few concerts. But I love the song 41. It has a quote, "I will go in this way, but I'll find my own way out." And I really like that. That one really speaks to me. I'll go in this way, but I'm going to do things my way sometimes. I'm going to find my own way out.
I thought it was pretty cool. They named it 41 because it was the 41st song they wrote. Easy. No hidden symbols there.
No need to overthink it. I mean, I guess they were probably sitting around, what do we call this song? And number 41. I don't know. Pretty unoriginal way to title a song, but whatever. The band used to be better. They had a violinist who got himself into a little bit of trouble. Believe he got kicked out of the band. We won't dive into what he did, but no longer in the band. They replaced him with a keyboardist. I just don't think the music's the same. So I went to a concert with the keyboardist. I was like, you know what? I liked it better with the felon, but he's not in the band anymore.
It's kind of like the Digits Dynasty. You don't really care about the background. You just, do they perform when they're supposed to perform?
Right. We don't care about who's talking.
Murder people. But if you can play the violin, did he kill someone?
No.
Yeah, like have 30 felonies, but if you can play instruments better than other people, then...
Yeah, I mean, I think what he did was pretty bad. I think he deserved to get kicked out, but...
There's another song. We talked about Bruce Springsteen a couple weeks ago. He has a song called American Skin, in parentheses, called 41 Shots. It's inspired by the police shooting in New York City, where the victim was shot 41 times by 4 officers.
Bruce Springsteen, he loves a number in his song, doesn't he?
Yeah, the incident on 57th Street.
Yes, 57, 41.
Born to Run. That was a rhyme.
Whoa.
I was supposed to do that. Another song, I think trying to get a little more, I was going to say more upbeat, but there's another song. Symphony number 41 was the last symphony of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Maybe we need to find some good stuff about the 41 here. A little more upbeat. 41 was the race number run by Sir Roger Bannister when he first broke the 4-minute mile barrier. I feel like that 4-minute mile was in track and field like that number that no one thought was going to be reached. There were many years where people were kind of getting closer and closer and closer, and Roger Bannister finally broke that mark with a time of 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. The current mile record is 3 minutes, 43.13 seconds. That is pretty quick.
That's crazy.
I don't think I
who
can do
holds
that.
that record, do you know?
Hachem Garouge. He is a Moroccan athlete. There have been about 1,800 athletes who have broken the 4-minute barrier.
Yeah, I mean, 3:43, that is quite fast, but when did Roger Bannister do it?
He did it in 1954 at age 25.
Yeah, so I mean, I feel like the way records go, I mean, you look at records back in the 50s compared to today, and they're just crushing them. But that 4-minute mile, I mean, they're only 15 seconds down. I know that 15 seconds is a long time in running, but...
And it's just crazy. Like, you wonder, obviously there is a limit of human speed, whether it's the 100-meter dash or the mile run. Like, there is a number that you can't get any faster. Like, you can't run in 0 seconds, obviously. So, like, I guess you can get close, but
I feel like we got to be getting pretty close.
even like the 100-meter with Usain Bolt, like at some point, like no one's really approached that time in a little bit. Like,
How fast are those guys running? Are they getting up to 30 miles an hour in that 100-meter?
I think so, about that.
Are they? But that's got to be topping out. I mean, the fastest animal is a cheetah, if you don't count birds. I think there's a bird that flies like 200 miles an hour.
Peregrine falcon.
It flies 200 miles an hour, right?
Yeah, that's the black eye paint that's popular in sports and stuff. That came from the peregrine falcon.
Oh,
They
really?
have some feathers under their eye.
We learned so much on
Dive bomb prey, just knocking them senseless. Same guys are trying to catch a ball in football using the same process.
But does that count? I mean, are we still calling the cheetah the fastest animal, or is it going to be
the fastest land animal? And then the fastest flying animal would be the falcon. I feel like sharks and whales, they're pretty quick too.
a whale?
When you're 100 meters long,
Doesn't mean you're going fast.
you have a tail that's 30 feet wide, you can go pretty quick.
I doubt the whale is the fastest.
I think you're right, though. It depends what metric you're using.
Like a tuna, right? I mean, tunas are pretty powerful.
It tastes good, too.
Well, but do you like tuna salad?
I don't.
I can't stand tuna salad. I love a good seared ahi tuna, a little sesame crust.
Little research here from the back. The sailfish is considered the fastest fish in the ocean, 68 miles an hour.
Wow.
That's destroying Usain Bolt.
But not the cheetah.
Cheetah is just a little bit faster, but you're right. I think fastest animal on the planet is the falcon.
But they're not on the planet. They're above the planet.
They're in our atmosphere.
But I can fall pretty fast too. Like if you throw me out of a plane, does that make me faster than a cheetah?
That's true. That one guy back in the day, when he went to like the Red Bull guy who went to the edge of space, jumped out, like he broke the sound barrier. That was 822 miles per hour.
So does that make him the fastest animal?
Fastest
no, it doesn't.
Thing.
No. So the falcon is cheating. The falcon is cheating.
Like the cheetah's cheating.
No, the cheetah is using its muscles to get up to speed. The falcon is using gravity.
No, I think they're using aerodynamics, just eons of evolution to become this elite hunting machine.
Like a cheetah? My daughter just got these new shoes, and they have cheetahs on the inside of them, so now she runs around the house and says she's fast like a cheetah. Love it.
Can you beat her in a race?
I can, and I always will.
Even at 41?
Even at 41. I won't ever let her beat me until she truly can beat me.
And then you'll never race her again.
Right, and then I'll be like, we're done.
Yeah, come on, daughter. All right, we're going to go on our world tour again. Do you know anyone in Switzerland? Because that's the international direct dialing code.
I don't. I have a coworker who worked in Switzerland or lived in Switzerland for some time, but no longer does. Now he's just a few offices down the hall.
You can use...
so I don't need to dial Switzerland's code.
Dang, we'll get there.
We're going to find somebody in this world. Honestly, do you know anyone that doesn't live in this country?
We'll eventually get some listeners that we have to call, maybe.
Okay.
Niobium, atomic number 41 is the chemical element niobium, symbol Nb. It oxidizes in Earth's atmosphere very slowly, hence its application in jewelry. As a hypoallergenic, it's an alternative to nickel.
Do you know the boiling point of niobium is 4,744 degrees Celsius?
I was going to guess 7,443.
What is the highest temperature you can reach? Like, what's the temperature of the sun?
Probably hotter than that. I think you can't get too close. That's why we're three planets away from the sun. We can't handle that heat.
5,600 Celsius. That's not that much hotter.
What's that in Kelvin?
I mean, you're within 1,000 degrees of the temperature of the sun for niobium to boil.
So I don't think we're boiling that on Earth at all. I don't think we can get
Do
that.
we have that technology?
I don't think we can get that hot. The Bunsen burner I have in my science room is not gonna cut it. The 41st president of the United States was George H.W. Bush. He had quite the resume before becoming president. Ambassador to the United Nations, director of the CIA, vice president of the United States, and our 41st president. He had also captained the Yale baseball team and played in the first 2 College World Series as a left-handed first baseman. We had gone to Yale, give the kids a tour of where they're going to be going to college in quite a few years. But George Bush was actually able to meet Babe Ruth before a game during his senior year. And they have a big picture of this thing in the Yale bookstore. It's pretty cool to meet Babe Ruth and know that this is the future president. Pretty cool. George Bush had also played on Yale's varsity soccer team, achieved an undefeated record to win the New England Intercollegiate Soccer League Championship. His first at bat in Yale's first game of the season versus Connecticut, in the bottom of the second inning, in a scoreless game and runner on second, he was wearing number 2. He drilled a single into the hole between short and third to drive home the initial run of the campaign. In 76 games, he had a career fielding average of .983, a lifetime batting average of .224, and he had 1 career home run. In 1990, after he had become president, the Topps Company produced a baseball card for him, honoring his unique achievement of being the only U.S. president to play in the College World Series. It has all his stats from his Yale University days.
I didn't know he had a baseball card.
I don't think it wasn't from the 40s. It was like a modern day baseball card, but yeah.
Still, I didn't know he had one.
I think one of the big traditions of the president is throwing out the first pitch, but he actually was the first president to throw the first pitch from the mound. All his predecessors would throw it from the stands and be in the front row and just throw a ball in there. Starting with the first one to do that was William Howard Taft, but George H.W. Bush was the first to do it from the mound.
From the rubber?
From the rubber.
You know, I don't want to hijack HW with just W. Probably is the greatest first pitch of all time, right?
2001.
Yeah, after the Twin Towers came down.
In New York City. Yankee
World
Stadium.
Series.
Was that game 3?
Were they coming back?
I think that was the first one, on the East Coast, and that was pretty iconic.
Oh, and he goes to the rubber. Perfect strike.
I think there was a story where, because I think he was warming up down in the, I guess, below Yankee Stadium. They have a batting cage, and I think Derek Jeter walked up, and I think he said, you got to go from the rubber. I think when you think about it, that will give the pride, and you also can't screw it up from there too. If you threw it short, that wouldn't have been good. Because it was such a big moment, and he's the president, it's the World Series. I think he also wore like a bulletproof vest underneath his jacket.
Yeah, he's got that blue jacket on, but it's kind of bulky.
And it's tough because he's a former owner of a baseball team. Like he knows how to throw the ball, but you kind of get all this extra gear that you're not used to. So it's a lot of pressure to throw the ball and get it right.
And I don't think warm-ups were like an extended warm-up. I think it was probably like 2 or 3.
Yeah, here's the ball.
throws.
You good? Let's go, Mr. President.
And then he's out there. And yeah, I mean, I think Secret Service was a little bit nervous about him being out there. There's only so much security you can run.
55,000 people.
Yeah, and obviously tensions were high, and you didn't really know what was going to happen next. And gosh, I still remember it. It was a real moment for the country to be able to say, okay, we're America, we're strong, and we're moving on from this, and we're gonna come out of this okay. He really did handle that 9/11 situation pretty well. I know there's some conspiracy theories out there, but that's a conversation for a different podcast.
Or just wait for 43. When we get to 43, we can talk.
I mean, we can talk 9/11 conspiracies when we get to 43 if you want.
For the 43rd president. I think you just stole all the glory from H.W. Bush.
Well, I mean, father-son. Are there any other father-son president combos?
Well, you have John Quincy Adams.
That was his son?
2 and 6. Then you actually have a grandfather, Benjamin Harrison and William Henry Harrison.
Now,
and then I think
Teddy Roosevelt was like a cousin?
I think they were like 5th cousins, the 2 Roosevelts, something like that. Should we move on to some sports athletes? See who the best 41 of all time is going to be?
Love to. I don't think we agree. I mean, we had a little preliminary conversation before we got on here. I can already tell we don't agree.
Oh, jeez.
So let's do it.
I got to start. There's a UConn player in Major League Baseball who wore number 41.
UConn
Charles Nagy. Charles Nagy spent 13 years wearing the number 41 with the Indians, 3-time All-Star. He was the first UConn player to be drafted in the first round. He was a member of Team USA Baseball that competed in the 1988 Summer Olympics when it was a demonstration sport. Nagy made 19 appearances, going 3-1 with a 1.05 ERA. They eventually defeated Japan to win the tournament and win gold medals for the United States. It was a demonstration sport, so the medals actually didn't count to the medal totals for the nations, but he did get a gold medal.
Well, I'm so glad we talked about Charles Nagy. That's good. Can we move on?
He was the only pitcher to record a hit in the All-Star game in the designated hitter era.
Wow.
He batted in the 8th inning because there were no position players left and he was just, there were no position players left to pinch hit.
Go Huskies.
He had an infield single off Doug Jones while wearing a Texas Rangers batting helmet.
Because he didn't even have a helmet?
Well, he wasn't expecting to hit.
That's kind of cool, though. He wore a different team's helmet because he didn't have one.
I don't know why you need to keep talking about Charles Nagy here. I feel like we need to move on from
now I'm
these UConn
interested.
guys.
Now I'm invested.
Yeah, I would imagine it's just because he wasn't expecting to hit because he's a pitcher. John Lackey, from 2002 through 2017, he pitched for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Boston Red Sox, St. Louis Cardinals, and Chicago Cubs. He is a 3-time World Series champion with 3 different teams, the Angels, the Red Sox, and the Cubs. The Cardinals did not win one with John Lackey. He was a key figure in each of those postseasons. He won the title-clinching games for 2 of the 3 World Series. And after missing the 2012 season due to ulnar collateral ligament reconstruction surgery, and then helping the Red Sox win the 2013 World Series, he was awarded the Tony Colignero Award. That's given to the MLB player who best overcomes an obstacle and adversity through the attributes of spirit, determination, and courage that were trademarks of Conigliaro.
Now, is that just Tommy John?
Yeah, Tommy John. I was trying to sound a little more...
Oh, well, you sound very medically professional.
Yeah, and now you're calling me out. Thanks,
But
man.
he got an award for having Tommy John and coming back and pitching?
And pitching at an elite level. Won the World Series.
But Lackey, he was so solid. He was kind of like just that guy. He'd be middle rotation. He wasn't going to be your ace, but he'd be your second or third. And he'd just come in, give up 2 or 3. He'd give you a chance to win. He'd go deep. He was instrumental on that Red Sox team. I don't know if he was their number 2 for that one. I know they had Lester, Lackey. I know that they were kind of that 1-2 punch for the Red Sox when they won in 2013, but just solid. Somebody you could really rely on. When you got Big Papi coming up, getting 4 RBIs in every single game, he just needed to go out there and go deep and be solid, and they get the win.
So he wore 41 for almost his entire career, but when he joined the Cardinals, there was a player already wearing the number, Pat Neshek, and so Lackey wanted to get the number 41. So he actually he had a Babe Ruth baseball that he traded to Neshek for the number 41.
Not worth it.
I don't think so. Neshek, I guess, was quite the baseball collector, which is kind of weird to think as a professional baseball player to be a collector of also baseball paraphernalia and stuff. But he would bring baseball cards with him on road trips and try to get people to sign them. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I think when he was in Minnesota for an All-Star game, he brought a lot of Twins veterans that he thought he might kind of run into over All-Star weekend, and it's pretty wild.
Love that. I mean, I think that's cool.
But I think that's a good trade for him to get a Babe Ruth baseball in exchange for just a number.
What does Pat Neshek care about what number he has? He's just happy to be in the league, right?
I know. He was an All-Star, though.
Yeah, but
hey, he's got a Babe Ruth baseball now.
Who cares what number you are? Some guys especially in baseball, they get very superstitious.
Next guy on the list. This one's an 8-time Grammy Award winner, has sold more than 100 million records, and is in the Guinness Book of World Records with his album Supernatural as the best... Oh, wait. Different Carlos Santana. I'm sorry. This Carlos Santana is nicknamed Slamtana, Axeman, and El Oso, which is the bear in Spanish. He won World Baseball Classic Gold in 2013. He wore 41 for 6 teams over 14 years and is now wearing number 30 for the Twins. That was a good little joke there. I had you. You're like looking at me like, what is going on?
I was like, who's he about to talk about? I did see Santana in concert, one of the best concerts I've ever seen. I just remember he stood up there with his eyes closed and just jammed away. Then he started talking politics. It was weird. We're like, all right, carry on, Carlos.
I have one more baseball guy. The franchise, Tom Terrific, Tom Seaver. He played for 20 seasons in Major League Baseball, played for the Mets, Reds, White Sox, and the Red Sox from 1967 to 1986. Probably the most iconic player in Mets history. He had a significant role in their 1969 World Series over the Orioles. He won the Rookie of the Year award in 1967, won 3 Cy Young awards as the best pitcher, 12-time All-Star, and is the Mets' all-time leader in wins. During his whole career, he compiled 311 wins, over 3,600 strikeouts, 61 shutouts, a 2.86 ERA, and a no-hitter in 1978. I know I'm about to open up a can of something here. In 1992, he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility, receiving the highest percentage of votes ever recorded at the time, 98.8%. Now, he was named on 425 out of 430 ballots. 3 of these 5 ballots that omitted him were blank, cast by writers protesting the Hall's decision to make Pete Rose ineligible for consideration. 1 ballot was sent by a writer who was recovering from open heart surgery and failed to notice that Seaver's name was even on there. And the 5th no was cast by a writer who said he will never vote for any player in their first year of eligibility. Can I get some thoughts? We only have like an hour here.
Okay. Tom Seaver is clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer. Retired his number with 2 different teams. He's got the resume. There's no reason you wouldn't vote for this guy to be in the Hall of Fame. The 3 that were protesting Pete Rose's ineligibility,
You respect that.
I do respect that. I do respect that.
And how about the open heart guy?
But if it's a no ballot, then you toss it out.
That's true.
You don't count it. You don't want to vote, then it doesn't count. The open heart guy, okay, understood.
But-
Honest mistake.
But what if he was the only one? You got to feel bad for the guy.
But this 430th ballot, this really burns my hide. And I'm telling you, to say you're not going to vote for someone ever
Just
on the
'cause it's a
first ballot
principle.
just because is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I knew you'd have something to say about this.
Can I tell you that nobody in history knows this guy's name, and he made 0 difference in the world by doing that?
Good thing no one knows his name, because I feel like
Ugh,
some
I'm
tomatoes
disgusted
at his house.
wait till we get to 25 and Barry Bonds. Whatever. Pete Rose, like, now that he's passed, are we going to put him on the Hall of Fame? And the way we just swept under the rug the Shohei Ohtani gambling scandal.
I still think I think he knew everything.
There's so much more to that story. And MLB's like, we can't have this again. Here's your scapegoat. Go back to Japan. And I don't know. I mean, Pete Rose, I'm not arguing that he's the greatest guy, but
He's a Hall of Famer.
he is baseball. Like, everything about him, he was the greatest player. You knew you were going to get me fired
You
up.
good?
You knew you were going to get me fired up.
Take a breath.
Tom Seaver, his no-hitter came against the Cardinals. I feel like every guy we talk about
No, poor
no-hits the
Cardinals
Cardinals.
are terrible.
Seaver did pitch a scoreless 15th inning in the 1967 All-Star game.
He didn't pitch 15 innings. He just pitched
No,
in
no,
the
no,
15th
no.
inning.
Yeah, he got the save there. Got the strikeout record in 1970. Struck out the final 10 batters in a game against the San Diego Padres to set the major league record. So, that's pretty impressive. 69 World Series champion. Pitched a 10-inning game in Game 4 of the 69 World Series. And then traded to the Reds. How
do you get rid of him?
Why are you trading Tom Seaver?
And then I think he ended up in 1986. He actually was playing for the Red Sox against the Mets when the Mets beat him in the World Series.
I did not realize he was on that 86 team.
And I don't think he was that wasn't the peak of his career, obviously, but he was still a little bit of get the ball over the plate.
I'm sure he could have grounded that grounder at first.
Easy.
Then he retired. He retired in 86, so that was his last
year. Yeah.
game was losing to the Mets.
Maybe he was in on it, like an inside man.
Ooh.
He's like the most iconic Mets player in history. We need to look into. Speaking of conspiracy theories, let's look into this.
I don't think you're onto something, but sure, if you want to look into it, go ahead.
Spend hours on this thing.
Started a vineyard after he retired, and made some wine for a while, and then just passed away a couple years ago in 2021.
When he was young, he met Hank Aaron, and he felt the need to introduce himself, as he was certain that this veteran player wouldn't know who he was. And I guess Aaron replied to Seaver, he said, "Kid, I know who you are, and before your career is over, I guarantee you everyone in the stadium will too." Reggie Jackson had a quote about him. He said, "Blind men come to the park just to hear him pitch." In 1971, this stat line, he led the league in ERA, 1.76, and strikeouts. He had 289 and 286 innings, while going 20-10. But he was second in the Cy Young balloting to Ferguson Jenkins, who had 24 wins and 325 innings pitched. Only Tom Seaver and Walter Johnson have 300 wins, 3,000 strikeouts, and an ERA under 3. He has the most opening day starts in Major League history with 16. And when he retired, he was third on the all-time strikeout list behind Nolan Ryan and Steve Carlton, and he's currently 6th on that list.
Him and Nolan were rookies the same year. And
no one pitched for another 6.
no one pitched for another, like, I think he's still pitching today, but my dad actually has that rookie card with both of them on it.
Ooh.
Worth a couple dollars. He has 2 of them. One of them has bubblegum stains on it. And so one of them is worth a few dollars and the other one is worth
A few more dollars.
a few pennies. And so I've told my brother that I get the one without the bubblegum stain.
That's true.
Not that we're like fighting over my dad's property before he passes, but we're staking our claim to the
If only your dad had a third one. I could lay claim to that one.
My dad's a big Tom Seaver fan. When I told him we were about to record 41, he immediately said Tom Seaver without looking at any notes, without looking at anything, doing any research. He was like, Tom Seaver. And
so I don't want to cut you off here.
Dad, I mean, there's somebody else. And he said, there's Tom Seaver and then there's everybody else.
I feel like you now feel the need to bump him up on your list to make sure you get the non-bubblegum card.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's something to that.
There's some outside sources here.
I am very objective. I'm not
just looking at the numbers.
I have no bias. It's all about the numbers. But listening to all his stats and the fact that they traded him away, but they call it the Midnight Massacre because I think they kind of did it overnight. You know, everybody went to bed and then they woke up and Tom Seaver was
what? He plays for Cincinnati now. He also had 12 career home runs and a batting average of 154. Not bad for a pitcher. Move on to the next sport here. You got anyone else for baseball? I think basketball. Juancho Hernan Gomez. He was selected by the Denver Nuggets with the 15th overall pick in the 2016 NBA draft. Spent 7 seasons with the Nuggets, Timberwolves, Celtics, Spurs, Jazz, and Raptors. Wore 41 for all those teams. Played 7 teams, 7 years. He was have you seen the movie Hustle with Adam Sandler? He was the main. He's like
the one where Adam Sandler is selling jewelry.
No, this one he's a coach. He's kind of down on his luck.
Oh no, I'm thinking of the one Uncut Gems.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
Has Kevin Garnett in it.
But this one was it's called Hustle, produced by LeBron and Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler is also in the movie. A very good movie. It's about Adam Sandler is he's a scout and he finds this basketball player from Spain, tries to bring him back to the United States, and it's a very good movie. I feel like Adam Sandler, I think in a drama is much better than him in a comedy.
Oh, you don't like his comedies?
I like his comedies, but I feel no, I didn't say that. Adam, if you're listening, don't believe what he's saying. I just think he's a very good actor. I think he
is.
When he's in his comedies, I feel like he's just the same person for all of them. But he was Uncut Gems and Hustle he was very good.
I would debate that he's the same person in all of his comedies, but he does have.
Oh, he's Billy Madison in one, and
yeah, but Billy Madison
Gilmore
is not the same as Happy Gilmore.
Well, they're different people. But him as an actor,
characters.
I guess that's true.
I like his comedies. I know that some people are like, "Oh, I'm over Adam Sandler," but Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore.
Oh, those are classics.
I mean, come on, Waterboy. But like Happy Gilmore and Waterboy.
Bobby Boucher.
You know, I can see where people get tired of. I'm a fan. Do you remember his albums, his comedy albums? Did you ever have any of those?
I listened to the ones that were on like SNL, like Thanksgiving. No,
I'm talking about like the CD.
No,
you could buy like the CD of Adam Sandler skits.
I've not heard these.
And it's like the goat that's tied to the truck. He has the owner. He's like, "Hey, goat." You never heard this?
I've not heard.
You got to look up the old Adam Sandler album. Hysterical. It's where he has like the music. It's like where the Hanukkah song came from.
Okay.
And Lunch Lady. You know the Lunch Lady one?
That sounds familiar, actually.
Lunch Lady Land. And he's like, meatloaf sandwich. Anyways.
Another player. This guy was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks in 1998. Hall of Famer, Dirk Nowitzki. After he was drafted by the Bucks, he was traded to the Dallas Mavericks, where he spent his entire career. He is the only player ever to play for a single NBA franchise for 21 seasons. He is a 14-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA team member, first European player to start in an All-Star game, and the first European to receive the NBA's Most Valuable Player Award. He is the highest scoring foreign player in NBA history. He's the only player in the history of the NBA to lead a 50-win team in scoring for 11 consecutive seasons. He said, "When I came to the United States, I wanted number 14, but a player named Robert Pack, who was a point guard, no All-Stars. He had it, and he didn't want to give it up to a young German rookie. So I ended up flipping the numbers, and it worked out great. Internationally for Germany, he still wore the number 14. In the USA, he was 41, so it kind of worked out. Charles Barkley had worn 14 internationally, which was why he liked the number 14.
So he picked 14 on Barkley, huh?
Yeah.
I wonder how old he was when that dream team was making their run, because he was probably a teenager back then.
Yeah.
And probably, I think a lot of European players were inspired by that dream team and finally got a chance to see basketball at a different level outside the NBA. Interesting that Barkley's the one he chose, though.
I know.
Because Dirk's got that outside game. He can shoot, but he's 7 feet.
Nike had a Hoop Heroes tour where he played against NBA stars like Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen. In a 30-minute show match, he outplayed Barkley and even dunked on him. Barkley exclaimed, "The boy is a genius. If he wants to enter the NBA, he can call me." I think we might be talking a little more about Dirk.
I mean, Dirk is that European player that really came over and set the bar. I'm trying to think of a European player that came before Dirk and had the impact and
that left
longevity. Oh, who's the guy from the Bulls?
Yeah. Tony Kukoc?
Tony Kukoc. There was Tony Kukoc who came over from Croatia, maybe, and played for the Bulls, but he wasn't the number one on that Bulls team.
No, he was a very good support guy.
He was great. He was. I think he's a Hall of Famer. But Dirk was
the first
clear number one. You said what? 11 seasons leading a 50 win team in scoring.
Yeah, you listened.
I listen to you sometimes.
I
but
know.
So I feel like Dirk is that first guy to come from Europe and be the number one guy on his team. And now they're all over the place. Now they're taking over the NBA.
The last 6 MVP winners are not born in the United States.
Wow.
You got Giannis, Jokic, and then Joel Embiid have won the last 6.
I think one of the defining moments in Dirk's career was 2011.
NBA championship.
They're playing in the finals. D. Wade and LeBron were in a press conference, and I think Dirk was pretty sick, and D. Wade and LeBron are kind of up there just mocking him and, ooh, poor guy's sick, and then Dirk comes out and just
lights it up.
Okay. I don't have a very good German accent.
No, that was bad, though.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch. I mean, I think that really cemented him as, as a guy that is not to be messed with.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Dirk before the Mavericks, before Dirk was drafted, they were a pretty terrible team. And the Mavericks have more wins with him than they do without him, if that makes sense. So like before, I'm not sure how many years they were around, but I think he single-handedly raised this team to kind of the contender that they really have been for the last 15, 20 years.
I mean, I remember when the Mavericks were, like the worst franchise in sports, not just basketball.
Glenn Rice, another basketball player, played for 1,000 games in the NBA, played for 6 teams over 15 years. He did win an NBA championship in 2000 with the Lakers. He's a 3-time All-Star. Went to the University of Michigan and is still the school's all-time leading scorer. He led them to the 1989 men's basketball championship and scored 184 points over the whole tournament, which is still a record. In the 94-95 season, he averaged 22.3 points a game, made 185 three-point shots, and despite not being selected to play in the NBA All-Star game, he participated in the three-point contest and beat out Reggie Miller. Wes Unseld spent 13 years wearing 41 for the Baltimore Bullets, Capitol Bullets, and Washington Bullets. 5-time All-Star, Most Valuable Player, Rookie of the Year, and a 1-time NBA champion and Finals MVP. He was named to the NBA's 75th anniversary team and joined Wilt Chamberlain as the only 2 players to win the Most Valuable Player and Rookie of the Year in the same year.
That's impressive. To be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, to come in
MVP
and just dominate. He's the godfather of Kevin Love, as Kevin's father, Stan Love, was a teammate of Unseld's on the Bullets.
There's one other NBA guy I want to talk about, Michael Olowokandi.
Can you spell that?
No. But he was drafted number 1 overall, picked over Dirk Nowitzki.
Oh, that was a bad choice.
Not a good choice, but he didn't start playing basketball until he was 18 years old.
Jeez. He was like, 7 feet though, right?
I think he was pretty tall, yeah. walked on to a college, and then 4 years later was number 1 pick in the 1999 draft.
That's pretty good.
Same draft that produced Vince Carter, Dirk Nowitzki, and not my favorite basketball player of all time, Paul Pierce. But he wore 41 for 2 years in Boston. I don't think he wore 41 his whole career, but he did wear 41 while he was in Boston.
I think I want to say 34.
He was 34
I
for...
think that was for the Clippers. 'Cause I think he was drafted by the Clippers.
Okay. And then my last guy, because
So why not?
I will never mature, Mitch Kupchak.
I feel like you were expecting a laugh there.
You never did that, like,
Kupchak.
yeah, you'd walk up to your buddy and be like, hey, who owns the Lakers? And they'd be like, I don't know. You'd be like, Kupchak.
Did he own the
Little
Lakers?
tap.
Kupchak?
I don't know. He was president
Oh,
or
okay. He had some.
GM or something.
Oh,
Yeah. I'll never mature.
no. You're 41.
Kupchak. Mitch Kupchak.
Big.
Anyways, that's it. That's all I got for NBA.
Just a couple hockey guys, just to mention some hockey. Yaroslav Halak, a 17-year career for 7 different teams wearing the number 41. 2-time William Jennings Trophy winner. He has the New York Islanders franchise record for the most consecutive wins with 11 and played in the NHL All-Star Game in 2015. Brent Gilchrist played about 800 games, all of them in the number 41. He played for 15 years with 6 teams, won the Stanley Cup with the Red Wings in 1998, and he is the all-time career leader in games played, goals, assists, and points for any player who wore the number 41.
Wow.
You didn't know that coming into this.
Well, he gets himself the award for the best hockey player to wear 41.
Let's move him along. Moving on to football, we mentioned Gale Sayers a few episodes ago as our greatest number 40. His teammate Brian Piccolo wore the number 41. In 1969, he had earned a place in the starting lineup as an undersized fullback. And in that season, when he was playing in Atlanta, he scored a fourth quarter touchdown on a 1-yard run and then voluntarily removed himself from the game, something he had never done. His teammates were quite confused about this just because it seemed out of character for him. His breathing became very difficult. So when they reached to Chicago, he was sent for a medical exam, which he was diagnosed with embryonal cell carcinoma. After surgery to remove the tumor, he went. After that, he had to retire from the NFL and died in the early morning of June 26th at the age of 26. About a month before his death, Gale Sayers had accepted the George Halas Award for Most Courageous Player and told the crowd that they selected the wrong person for the award. He said, "I love Brian Piccolo, and I'd like you all to love him too. Tonight, when you hit your knees to pray, please ask God to love him too."
Gonna make me cry with that. I love Brian Piccolo. I mean, and I think up until that time, guys didn't tell guys that they loved each other. I don't tell you I love you.
It's true. I'm glad.
But that movie gets me.
But if you did, I'd be honored. The Bears have since retired the number in his honor, making a permanent tribute to his legacy after he tragically died young from cancer.
You seen that movie?
I have not. But
I feel like this is a common theme.
I know,
with
and
us.
especially with this one, we've talked about it twice now, and both times you've really talked it up a little bit, so might have to change that. Alvin Kamara he was selected by the Saints in the 2017 NFL Draft. He was the Rookie of the Year and named a Pro Bowler in his first 5 seasons. In 2020, he became the second player in NFL history to score 6 rushing touchdowns in a single game. Imagine having him on your fantasy team that week. In 2024, he became the Saints' all-time rushing leader, and he has the NFL record for most successful 2-point conversion attempts, with 7, tied with Marshall Faulk. When he was a rookie at the Combine, he achieved the highest Wonderlic test score of all the running backs. I think we need to do that. I think we need to do a Wonderlic test.
Dude, I will crush the Wonderlic.
Will you crush me, though?
Yes.
Ooh, all right. I think we need to stop production right now and figure out
I'll
how
do
to
the
get
Wonderlic. Is that like openly available?
I've looked it up. I think we need to delve into this a little bit more. I feel like when we get to what number was Ryan Fitzpatrick? Because I think is it him that has the highest score ever?
Yeah, he went to Yale, right?
Harvard or
Harvard.
one of them.
I mean, he played for like 20 teams. He probably has multiple numbers.
That's true. When we get to one of those, we'll do some
14.
Okay.
And 11. He did wear 11.
Okay.
14 and
we've
11.
already done 11, so when we get to 14, we're going to do a Wonderlic test.
He wore 11 for Harvard, though.
All right. Well, we've already done 11. We can't go back on that one.
He played for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 NFL teams.
I feel like he's on Thursday Night Football now on Prime,
Okay.
and I think it was last year they gave him, I don't know if it was his birthday or something, but they gave him a helmet that had all 9 of his teams on it. That's a very cool. But yeah, that's a lot of teams, and he started for most of them, right?
I would
I
imagine that
think
he
I think he
played
has wins for
significantly.
most of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
which it's crazy to be good enough to start for that many teams, but not be good enough that they want to keep you for another year.
Hey, our main guy's hurt. Can you come in and play for a year,
Yeah, I get.
and then you can go somewhere else after that?
And and again, played well enough to be a backup at
Yeah.
another thing. Or maybe he was able to be like, all right, I think this guy's gonna get hurt this year, and I'll be back up there.
But never played for the Browns. Like, you would think the Browns would at least
That's
try to
true.
bring him in. You know,
Browns have had a lot of quarterbacks. Eugene Robinson, nicknamed the Prophet, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion with the Packers in 1997. He had a 16-year career with 4 teams, mainly with the Seahawks. He won the Bart Starr Award, which is given annually to a football player in the NFL who, quote, best exemplifies outstanding character and leadership in the home, on the field, and in the community. Remember that.
noted.
The night, so he got that. This is like over Super Bowl weekend. They give this award out. They gave out the award in the
I
morning.
feel like this is not going the direction.
It's no. So he actually returned the award after being arrested the night he received it for soliciting sex from an undercover police officer.
That is not very Bart Starr like.
This is the night before the Super Bowl when he was with the Falcons, and he obviously didn't get much sleep that night due to the prostitution incident. He gave up an 80-yard touchdown reception to Broncos receiver Rod Smith, giving the Broncos a 17-3 lead over the Falcons. Later in the fourth quarter, he missed a tackle on running back Terrell Davis that enabled Davis to break a long run to the Atlanta 10. They ended up losing the game 34-19, and Robinson was widely denounced by the press and fans for the previous night's incident, and the next season was his last with the Falcons. That being said, he actually was a very good safety for the Falcons. It's tough to win an award for character and then that same day kind of have to give it back.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, especially being the same day.
I know, and then the Super Bowl the next day, so you can't even prepare how you should.
That's brutal. Now, sure, he gave up the touchdown. He missed a tackle. That Falcons team was not winning the Super Bowl with or without Eugene Robinson.
So that
at his getting a full night's rest. But I'm telling you, I'm going to go back to the NFC Championship game. Had the Vikings won that game,
15-1 they were that year.
they would have destroyed the Broncos. Like, they were so good.
Randall Cunningham, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Robert Smith.
That's just the offense.
Oh my gosh, they had John Randall right on the defense. They were just that offense. I think that was like the highest scoring offense of all time. I think they would have won that game. That was the one where Gary Anderson needed like a 30-40 yard chip shot, hadn't missed a field goal all year, and they put it on the ticker on the bottom of the screen so you knew he was going to miss it. That's a shame.
It is, because I wish that team would have won, because that was one of the greatest teams of all time. That was maybe the greatest offense of all time, and they don't get their credit because they didn't get the win there. But yeah, poor Eugene. That was not a very good judgment call to get a prostitute. Does he need do you need to buy a prostitute?
I know, that's what I
don't understand. I mean,
is starting safety in a Super Bowl. You're speechless. You have no speech.
So this undercover cop is like, we're gonna get football players. Like, where were they set up?
Or they were prepared for this normal Joe's, and then he's like, well, I gotta go to that corner.
That's wild to me, that this is where the guy went to find it, and he. Okay.
We'll talk about that in my conspiracy theory about Tom Seaver. We'll kind of delve into all these number 41 conspiracy theories.
Oh, do you think that the undercover cop was a plant by John Elway? John Elway's like, listen, I know Eugene. and he's going to want to pay for some stuff tonight.
No, don't go in that corner. He's going to want to go in this corner.
Oh, what a terrible, terrible decision.
Yeah, it's a shame. We got to move on, though. Antoine Bethea?
Yes. Now we're talking.
I knew you'd like him. Indianapolis Colts safety for 14 seasons in the NFL. He played college football for the Howard Bison and selected in the 6th round of the 2006 draft. Also played for the 49ers, Cardinals, and Giants. And he won Super Bowl 41 as a member of the Colts, beating the Chicago Bears.
Yes, Super
41.
Bowl 41.
There you go.
2007.
Full circle.
You know, the lone Colts Super Bowl for Peyton, which, I mean, whatever. We'll talk about 18 another time, but, you know, Peyton should have more. You know, just the way the Vikings should have won that Super Bowl, Peyton should have like 10 Super Bowls.
They went to Tom Brady instead.
I mean, you give him that defense, he's
defense, my gosh.
Easily winning more than Brady.
Bethea wore number 41.
He never had a top 5 defense.
Well, that's his fault. Tom Brady took the pay cut so that you could get.
No.
Was Tom Brady the highest paid quarterback?
That's a bunch of bull.
Look at the stats. Digits Dynasty. Look at the numbers.
Follow Brady did not
the
take
numbers.
A pay cut so that he could have a better defense.
He could take a pay cut because he was his wife made more money than him.
I take back what I said about loving you.
I didn't accept it, I think, when you said it earlier. All right, I don't have any other guys at all. I think we can enter phase 2. I think we're moving on. Tom Seaver.
Yes.
Dirk Nowitzki.
I like it.
Are we between those two?
Yeah, I mean, no one else really stood out as legends of the game.
Eugene Robinson. We're not going to reward his Super Bowl move.
I think Eugene definitely worked his way out of contention. I know we usually talk about between the lines, but we've had a controversial pick before.
But he also let his off the field stuff affect his between the lines.
This is true.
Wearing the number 41. Had he had his situation and won a Super Bowl MVP, we'd be moving him on. Not today, though.
Yes, I think it comes down to baseball and basketball.
All right. You want to start us off? Who are you thinking? I know your dad has really pushed you to pick one of these two. And Curtis's dad, if you're listening, if I debate against him, don't hate me.
You know, my dad, a strong influence in my life.
You took his last name, right?
I did take his last name. He didn't give me his first name, but that's okay. He decided to go with a different name. But, I mean, Tom Seaver, there's a lot there. He's got a huge resume. I really don't know who to pick between these two guys. Because, for me, I didn't watch Tom Seaver play. Now, when I hear my dad passionately talk about Tom Seaver and how great he was, and then you say that 300 wins, under 3 ERA, World Series champion, number retired by 2 different teams. He's got the no-hitter. He's got the strikeout champion. He's got it all. He's got everything you need to be the greatest number 41.
Then you have Dirk, also a Hall of Famer, also a one-time champion of his sport.
But does he have a no-hitter?
He has a 3-point contest championship. Also won an MVP. There's no MVP from Tom.
Yeah, but do pitchers win MVP? And does he doesn't have any Cy Youngs either, does he?
Actually had, quick side note, we had a listener reach out when we were talking about Francisco Rodriguez, who I think we were talking about how pitchers don't really win MVP awards. But Justin Verlander won an MVP award. And I believe Dennis Eckersley has won an MVP award. Just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah. Now, Tom Seaver did win 3 Cy Young awards.
He did win 3.
But it's not like they have like an award for the best 3-point shooting 7-footer. They have very similar careers when you really look at them on paper.
It is obviously it's tough to compare 2 different sports, but then we talk about how Tom Seaver was one of the most iconic Mets players of all time, Dirk is the most iconic Mavericks player of all time. I think Seaver has a lot of the all-time Mets records. Nowitzki has basically all of the Mavericks records.
Tom Seaver, the fact that he's one of two for 300 wins, 3,000 strikeouts, and an ERA under 3, ranks 6th all time in wins, 16 opening day starts.
I believe Dirk started every one of his opening day. Dirk Nowitzki is 7th all-time in regular season wins for an NBA player.
I mean, these guys are
It is crazy.
This is, I don't know. This is too hard for me. I wasn't expecting it to be this hard. But like I said before, I watched Dirk. I got to see the impact he had. So for me, my gut's like, you know what? It's got to be Dirk. I mean, he's the man. But then when I sit here and really break down Tom Seaver's stats and do a deeper dive into his career, you know, the one thing Dirk has for him is he played for the same team his whole career. And I think that somehow adds to your resume.
You value that a lot.
I do. I don't know why I do, but I do. Especially when we're talking about the greatest jersey. Now, Tom Seaver wore 41, so he wore it best for the Mets and for the Reds and even for the Red Sox. But if we're hanging that Tom Seaver Mets jersey on the wall, that only counts as Mets days, right? I mean, I know we're trying to
I think that's a placeholder for his whole career when he's wearing the number 41. So if he's wearing, I think, because we've talked about that that jersey I don't think encompasses, obviously the jersey means more for a Nowitzki who had that for 21 years.
Yeah, so I guess like when you get retired in the Hall of Fame, you get to pick a hat or you can pick no hat, but that doesn't discount the rest of your career if you played for multiple teams.
Yeah, as we've talked about, it's when you're wearing the number 41 though.
Yeah.
So like if you're switching numbers constantly, I just don't think you're going to be able to be the best of the best. But I think my vote right now, the longevity of playing with one team, I do respect that. I think not as much as you, but I think I think that's helping my decision in this case.
I'm searching for a difference. I'm searching for a factor that's going to make me choose one over the other, and I'm really struggling. Like when we talked about Bartolo Colon a few weeks back, had Bartolo Colon had that career with one team, I think it's a whole different conversation. But since he played for 37 teams, it kind of
38, so
it kind of takes him out of the running. Even though when you compile his stats over his career, it's like, wow, this guy really, really did a lot. For Dirk and Seaver, I don't know that I can pick one over the other.
They pay us to pick one.
Right. So what are you thinking? Gun to your head. I don't have a gun to his head, folks.
That's why I wasn't speaking. I'm leaning towards Dirk. I think coming into this, I was leaning towards Dirk, and then when we were talking about Tom Seaver, I started leaning that way, and the weight was going. I was like, all right, I'm surprising myself by picking Tom Seaver, and I feel like in the last 5 minutes, I've kind of gone back to Dirk.
I'm good with it. We haven't picked a basketball player yet, and that's not a reason to pick one over the other. But I think I'm good with it. We'll hang Seaver down there with Babe Ruth and Bill Laimbeer and
Very
Isaiah
good second
Thomas.
guys.
You know, the bums. But I think I'm good with Dirk. I'm having a hard time picking one over the other. So I'm good with Dirk.
I feel like you're still not sold.
I'm not, and I never will be, because I feel like we could put them both up there. I feel like either one could win.
I feel like this is one of the more even debates we've had.
It is. I think it's the most even we've ever had so far. But we have to pick. You're right. They pay us to pick. We make a lot of money to do this.
Too much money.
Too much money. So much that I have to work a regular job. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Dirk Nowitzki as well.
Let's do it. Let's raise the 41, raise it to the rafters. From West Germany, born and raised on a playground where he spent most of his days, 7-foot power forward, Dirk Nowitzki.
4 shots down the stretch tonight. Terry to Nowitzki, puts up the three, puts it in! Dallas goes up by 3 with 26.7 remaining.
The Duncan Deutschman, the Germinator,
I love the Germinator.
the 7-foot Schnitzel. I like it. I think it's a good choice. Like you mentioned, this is our first basketball guy up on the wall. Basketball is feeling a little lonely. Let's take a look to next week, see what we got going on, though. Number 66.
Yeah, not a lot of guys coming to mind at 66. I'm thinking offensive lineman.
Yeah, like a
which
center.
I couldn't name
tackle.
an offensive lineman by number outside of Jeff Saturday, who wore 63. He's my favorite offensive lineman of all time, but that's not 66.
Hockey. Mario Lemieux.
Okay.
He's 66.
All right. He wore it for his whole career?
I believe he did. Because I think he had the same agent as Wayne Gretzky, who wore 99. And he was compared to, I think, Gretzky for most of his career, like before the NHL. They said, just flip it over, turn it over. So he became a 66. But he had a pretty solid career.
Pretty solid is probably an understatement. But yeah, I mean, he's probably the early favorite to win 66.
Especially since we can't think of anyone else right now. But
All right.
yeah, it's not going to be a big number for baseball. Oh, Yasiel Puig. I think
Yasiel Puig, man, he was like on his way to being great. When he was a rookie, he was making all kinds of plays, throwing guys out from right field at third, hitting home runs, hustling, stealing bases. What happened to him?
We'll find out next week.
I guess so. He had an attitude problem. That's what.
Just like you. Yeah, I feel like basketball, it's going to be maybe one or two guys. Baseball, yeah, him. I can't think of anyone else, but I'm sure there's a couple call-ups.
I'm sure.
We'll do a little bit more research, and next week we'll come back with the stats.
With the digits.
There we have the greatest number 41 of all time in our books, Dirk Nowitzki. Write us, let us know if you agree, disagree, if there were any players that we missed. Our email address is digitsdynastypodcast@gmail.com. Our Instagram handle is Digits Dynasty Podcast. Next week, we will take a look at the number 66. If there are any players that are not to be left off the list, any stories that need to be told about players who wore the number 66, the email address again is digitsdynastypodcast@gmail.com. I think you have to go back and call your dad now, and
I feel like
probably
yet
preemptive.
Again,
maybe you should call him before we actually release it and let him know.
Yet again, I have disappointed my father, and this seems to be a running theme throughout my life.
I feel like Little League, you didn't make that play. That one shot you missed in rec ball.
Man.
That B.
A lot of C's on my report card.
Oh, so a B would have been good.
B would have been good. Yeah. I mean, sorry, Pop. I just wasn't born in the 50s like you. I was born in the modern day. But yeah,
it's too bad.
I do know there's going to be. We haven't talked about his favorite player of all time yet.
He's a Cardinals fan?
He's a Cardinals fan.
That's got to be. I feel like it's got to be Stan the Man.
No, too early for him.
Then the other one is Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson's probably 2.
Oh, okay.
Lou Brock was his guy. Lou Brock, 20.
20?
I mean, he could be in the running. I don't know what.
I know.
20's not coming to mind
right
with
now.
anybody else.
Ray Allen, the Celtics. 20's my number. That's like my lucky number.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
20 is your lucky number?
Yeah.
What's lucky about it? Why 20?
5th grade, I think that was the number I got playing basketball, and then I kind of stuck with that the rest of my sporting career.
Okay. So when we talk about 20,
I could put my name on the board.
Talk about why you chose 20 as your number.
You were number 3, right? You said that was your number?
1.
1.
And then when they went in alphabetical order, I would end up with 4 a lot. And then I'm pretty sure my athletic days passed me by pretty quick, and they no longer passed a jersey out to me. They just said, you might want to think about a different career, son. And yet again, I've disappointed my father.
All right. I feel like I need a quick little moment of silence for you, and then
It'll be all right.
Thank
still
you.
loves me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Sorry to Curtis's dad. And please join us again next week as we count down another number on the list.